The rhythmic tap of Amara's white cane echoed through the gleaming corridors of Grafton Academy, drawing curious glances and barely concealed giggles from students who'd never known adversity. At 16, she walked with composed grace, her dark glasses veiling the eyes that had been sightless since she was a child. Chase Williams noticed her instantly, an ideal target. Wealthy, isolated, vulnerable, or so he assumed. By lunchtime, he staged his first ambush, a full cup of orange juice spilled deliberately across her crisp white blouse. Oops, he sneered, expecting visible distress. But Amara didn't flinch. What unsettled Chase was her calm, how she slightly turned her head, how she seemed to register movements that, by all logic, should be even invisible to her. He couldn't have guessed that Amara spent her evenings blindfolded in a local dojo, shattering boards and subduing sparring partners with startling accuracy. He had no idea about the black belt folded in a drawer at home, or the years of grueling training that shaped her into something far tougher than she appeared. Chase and his clique had just picked a fight with someone they didn't understand. And they were about to find out how sharply Amara could see, even in darkness. The morning sun cast elongated shadows across the carefully manicured lawns of Grafton Academy as Amara James stepped onto campus for the first time. With every measured tap of her cane against the cobbled path, she mentally traced the layout, crafting a map of her surroundings in her mind. Her dark glasses shielded her eyes, but not her from the murmurs that followed her. "That's the new girl," someone whispered as she passed a lounging group of students. "Probably a diversity admit," another muttered, the contempt unmistakable. Amara's face remained unreadable. Her spine straight, her steps precise. At 16, she had mastered the subtle strength of appearing unaffected, even when every whisper tried to chip away at her dignity. Inside the main office, the air smelled faintly of lemon-scented polish and aging paper. She waited patiently as the receptionist, Mrs. Harrison, shuffled through her intake forms. "I'm not entirely sure how to, assist, given your situation," Mrs. Harrison said awkwardly. "If you give verbal directions, I can manage," Amara replied evenly. "My father and I reviewed the campus using a tactile map. I've memorized the layout." "Oh. Well, that's quite remarkable," Mrs. Harrison said, surprised though not for the first time, Amara could tell. 20 minutes later, she was seated in her language arts class. The teacher, Ms. Elridge, barely looked up as she addressed the room. "We have a new student joining us today, Amara James. She's transferred from Washington High. Please extend a warm welcome." Amara gave a polite nod in the teacher's direction and found her seat. Moments later, a gentle tap on her shoulder made her turn slightly. "I'm Yasmin," came a warm voice with a soft accent. "If you need anything, just let me know." Before Amara could answer, a snide voice rang out from the far side of the classroom. "Teacher's pet, making friends with the blind charity case." The words came from Chase Williams. Though she couldn't see him, Amara could imagine the smug grin stretching across his face. His confidence was unmistakable, his voice practically oozed entitlement. "Chase, that's enough," Ms. Elridge said, though her tone was half-hearted. Amara caught at the reluctance, the subtle shielding of Chase instead of her. It wasn't unfamiliar. Teachers at elite institutions rarely took a firm stance against the sons of board members and legacy donors. As class ended, Amara efficiently organized her materials, her folders marked with textured labels and sorted by color. A new voice approached her, then calm, analytical, curious. "Your organizational method is highly optimized. Color patterns combined with tactile tabs. Very effective." He didn't introduce himself. "I'm Sammy," Yasmin explained, now standing beside him. "He's brilliant with code. Not great with small talk. Social rituals are inefficient," Sammy said plainly. Amara gave her first smile of the day. "Efficiency is underrated." Later, In the bustling cafeteria filled with layered conversations, clattering trays, and the aroma of reheated pasta, Amara navigated through the maze with quiet precision. Her cane swept steadily in front of her, each movement confident and controlled. Just as Amara picked up her lunch tray, she felt a hand brush against her elbow. "Need help finding a place to sit?" came a smooth, carefully rehearsed voice. It was Chase Williams. Every part of Amara's body went rigid with alertness, but her expression stayed composed. "I can handle it, thanks," she answered. "I insist," Chase replied, already taking the tray from her hands. "It's the gentlemanly thing to do." What followed felt like slow motion. The intentional tilt of the tray. The icy splash of orange juice that splattered across the front of Amara's white shirt. The sudden stillness that fell over the lunchroom tables nearby. "Whoops," Chase said, his voice laced with mock sincerity. "Guess I'm just clumsy." A wave of laughter followed, not from every table, but from enough people to echo loudly. Amara stood motionless, juice dripping from her shirt, her face unreadable. Then, with practiced calm, she reached into her bag, pulled out a packet of tissues, and began gently dabbing the stain. Each movement was deliberate. "Aren't you gonna cry or something?" someone else chimed in, one of Chase's friends. "Why would I?" Amara replied steadily. "It's just juice." Her answer seemed to catch them off guard. The laughter quickly faded into an uneasy murmur. "I'm Logan," said the second boy, offering his hand awkwardly before realizing the gesture was misplaced and pulling it back. "Sorry about your shirt." "No, you're not," Amara responded, her tone neutral, not angry, just truthful. She turned and calmly walked away, her cane tapping rhythmically against the floor. Chase leaned toward his friends and whispered, "There's something weird about her." "She didn't even blink." "Maybe she's used to worse," Brent suggested. "Or," Chase said, his voice tightening, "maybe she thinks she's better than us." As Amara moved away, her thoughts drifted backward 7 years ago, to the day her world changed forever. She was 9 years old, seated in a doctor's office with her parents, hearing the diagnosis that would rewrite her future. A rare genetic condition. Progressive loss of vision. Irreversible. Her mother had cried. Her father, a hardened military man who rarely showed emotion, had gone completely silent, a silence that scared her more than if he'd shouted. 3 months later, as darkness swallowed the world around her, her father brought her to a small dojo on the outskirts of town. "Amara," he said, his voice rough with feeling, "you're going to learn how to see without your eyes." Sensei Park had been formidable from the start. A strict Korean-American instructor with a voice like gravel and hands that could crush stone. He offered no specialized program for blind students. No soft start. "You will train twice as hard," he told her. "You will fall twice as often. But you will rise twice as strong." That first year was agonizing. Bruises, frustration, and tears became routine. But over time, like water reshaping a rock, Amara began to transform. Her hearing sharpened. Her awareness of space grew more refined. Her balance became uncanny. By age 13, she could maneuver around the dojo blindfolded, tracking others by shifts in the air, subtle movements on the floor, the rhythm of their breath. True power, Sensei Park once told her after she blocked 3 opponents at once, is found in stillness. In restraint. In allowing your enemy to misjudge you until the moment you show them their mistake. The memory faded as Yasmin caught up to her in the hallway. "I can't believe Chase pulled that stunt," Yasmin said, handing Amara a clean shirt from her gym bag. "What a complete jerk." "I'm fine," Amara said simply. "It's not my first juice incident." "You know who they are, right?" "Chase Williams. Logan Taylor. Brent Cooper. Their families practically own half the town." "That doesn't make them invincible," Amara replied quietly. "Here it kind of does," Yasmin sighed. Ms. Elridge saw the whole thing and didn't lift a finger. She never does. Not when it comes to them. Later that day, Amara waited on the school's front steps for her dad. The grounds were nearly empty now, quiet and peaceful until she heard footsteps. 3 distinct walking patterns she had already learned. Still hanging around, Charity Case Chase's voice was stripped of its earlier mask of civility. Amara didn't respond. I said I'm talking to you, he pressed, stepping closer. I heard you, Amara replied calmly. I just didn't think you asked anything worth answering. Logan snorted, earning a sharp glance from Chase. You know, Chase said, starting to pace in front of her, most new students figure out the social hierarchy here real fast. But you seem confused. Social hierarchy, Amara echoed, a faint note of sarcasm in her tone. Interesting phrase. What's that supposed to mean? It means high school is temporary and so is your influence. Chase's face turned red. Oh, you think you're clever, let's see how clever you are by the end of the week. As they turned to walk off, Brent muttered, dude, she's blind. Maybe we should chill out. That's exactly why we shouldn't, Chase growled. $20 says I can make her cry before Friday. You're on, Logan said with a chuckle. What none of them noticed was the subtle angle of Amara's head, the way she tuned into every word as it drifted back toward her, her acute hearing catching every syllable. The next day brought a barrage of taunts and whispered insults. Between classes, someone rearranged chairs to trip her. In the cafeteria, a group of girls loudly debated how some people exploit disabilities for attention. Amara moved through it all untouched, unshaken. Her calm expression only seemed to aggravate Chase further. While heading to her final class, she heard something hit the ground ahead of her. A few gasps followed. A rubber snake. Amara stepped over it without breaking stride. Then, unexpectedly, she turned just slightly in the direction where Chase stood. Her face was angled as if she could see him, and the smug smile plastered across his face. For a fleeting second, Chase felt a flicker of unease. Did she just? Logan started. No way, Chase cut in quickly. Lucky guess. But doubt had taken root. Word of the rubber snake incident spread quickly. Students started whispering about the blind girl who didn't flinch, didn't react, who somehow seemed to know more than she should. Amara's days at Grafton Academy settled into a rhythm, one of silent resistance. Chase and his group intensified their efforts. They left tacks on her chair. Somehow, she always caught them before sitting. They blasted recordings of themselves mocking her cane walk as she passed in the halls. They even made a fake social media profile using her name, filled with desperate pleas for attention. Still, Amara remained unmoved. She never complained to teachers. Never retaliated. Her silence wasn't surrender, it was deliberate. I don't get it, Yasmin said one afternoon in the library as they worked side by side. How do you stay so composed? Amara's fingers traced the braille on her textbook. Reacting gives them what they want, she said simply. Why give them that power? Sammy, coding silently nearby, looked up. Classic counter-psych warfare, he said. No emotional response means no reinforcement for the behavior. Eventually, the cycle breaks. Amara smiled slightly. Something like that. The next day in gym, the class was playing dodgeball, something Amara was usually excused from. She sat on the sidelines, listening to the bounce of balls, the rush of feet, the chaos of competition. She didn't see Brent whisper to Chase. Didn't see Chase nod with cruel excitement. But she heard it. The sudden shift in movement. The shallow breath Chase took before launching the ball. It came flying toward her from behind an angle no blind person should have noticed. Without turning, Amara subtly leaned her head to the left. The ball shot past, narrowly missing her. The gym froze. No way, someone muttered. Did you see that? Is she even really blind? Chase stood still, ball in hand, staring at Amara, suspicion growing in his eyes. That evening, Amara made her way to a modest strip mall about 6 blocks from the school. At the far end was Park S Dojo, a humble building with faded signs and flyers taped to the windows. Inside, the air smelled of sweat and focus. She walked through without her cane, navigating by instinct and familiarity to the locker room. When she emerged, she wore a black GIN belt. Sensei Park, stoic and disciplined in his 50s, gave her a short nod. "You're late." "School drama," she replied quietly. "Excuses don't improve your stance," he said, voice like granite. "Not unkind," Sensei Park said firmly. "Begin your warm-up. Ryan will spar with you today." Ryan, a senior from a nearby high school, shot a hesitant glance toward Amara. "Sensei, are you certain? Are you doubting my judgment?" Sensei Park cut him off, voice sharp as a blade. "No, Sensei." "Sorry, Sensei." "Then begin." What followed wasn't a toned-down session designed for someone with a disability. It was a demanding match, meant to test real skill. Amara and Ryan bowed respectfully. Then, without hesitation, Sensei Park handed her a blindfold. She didn't need it, her world had long been without sight, but it was part of her practice. The match began cautiously. Ryan, unsure, held back. But after Amara easily blocked his initial attacks, his hesitation gave way to competition. He began launching more complex strikes, combinations meant to challenge even seasoned fighters. Amara parried them with fluid grace, her body reading his momentum like a book. When Ryan overcommitted to a high roundhouse, she seized his leg, swept his support foot, and brought him to the ground with precision and restraint. The dojo briefly fell silent, then applause erupted. The other students, who had paused their drills to watch, clapped in admiration. Breathing heavily, Ryan nodded in respect as Amara reached down and helped him up. "Well," Sensei Park said, which, coming from him, was high praise. "Both of you 5 laps around the mat, then continue practice." As Amara ran, her body moving on autopilot, her mind was already shifting back to Grafton Academy, to a different battlefield, one where fists didn't fly, but strikes came all the same. The next morning, before first period, Sammy approached her holding a small, sleek gadget. "I built this for you," he said, skipping any greeting, and placed it in her hand. "A spatial audio mapper. It sends out ultrasonic signals and converts the bounce back into directional cues via this earpiece. Think echolocation, but tech-based." Amara ran her fingers across the smooth plastic casing, visibly moved. "This is amazing, Sammy. Thank you. It should increase your environmental navigation efficiency by about 37.8%. Amara paused, then gently returned it to him. "I truly appreciate it, but I already see more than people think." Sammy tilted his head, eyes narrowing with curiosity. "Interesting," he murmured, and wandered off deep in thought. During lunch, Yasmin slid into the seat beside her, voice low and tight with urgency. "I overheard Brent in Chem Lab," she whispered. "They're planning something for tomorrow's assembly. Some prank to humiliate you." Amara calmly continued eating her apple. "What kind of prank?" "Something with fake Braille note cards. They want to get you on stage under false pretenses." "I see." Amara nodded. "Thanks for telling me. Aren't you worried maybe we should tell Principal Weston?" "To do what?" "Scold Chase while his dad threatens to yank funding for the new science wing." There was no bitterness in her voice. Just reality. "Sometimes," she said softly, "you handle it on your own." The next day's school-wide assembly was billed as a celebration of academic success, but mostly served to show off recent donor-funded upgrades. Amara sat near the back with Yasmin and Sammy. Halfway through Principal Weston's speech, Ms. Elridge approached with a too-sweet smile. "Amara, "Darling, you've been chosen to read a special message to the students. We've prepared it in Braille for you." A few rows up, Amara could already hear Chase and his crew snickering. The trap was obvious. "How thoughtful," she said smoothly, rising from her seat. "Please, lead the way." She followed Ms. Elridge to the stage, feeling hundreds of eyes tracking her every step, waiting for the spectacle to unfold. Principal Weston handed her the supposed Braille message. Amara ran her fingers over the page. The dots were gibberish random patterns, no structure. It wasn't Braille at all. "Whenever you're ready, Miss James," the principal said, stepping aside. Amara stood at the podium, calm and composed. She laid the fake card on the lectern and took a breath. "I'd like to share something I wrote last night," she said clearly. "It's called Seeing." Silence swept through the auditorium. She began, "They think darkness is my prison, that I live in a world without color, without shape. They pity the girl who can't see the sun. Not knowing I feel its warmth better than most. They think blindness means ignorance, that I can't detect their cutting whispers. But I hear the sneer in their voices, the echo of laughter meant to wound. I see more than they realize. The fear hidden behind their mockery, the weakness in their need to make others small, the blindness in their seeing eyes. True vision isn't with the eyes. It's within. And in the dark, I found my light." A hush hung in the air when she finished. Then, from the back, a single pair of hands clapped. The sound grew one, then two, then dozens until the room thundered with applause. Students stood in ovation, the moment completely reversed. Amara gave a small nod of acknowledgement and made her way back to her seat, unaided, her cane ticking softly across the floor. Chase sat stiffly in his chair, red-faced and fuming. The prank had blown up in his face. The humiliation meant for her had turned into her victory. "This isn't finished," he muttered to Logan and Brandt. "Not even close." But something had shifted. As Amara walked the halls that afternoon, students she didn't even know greeted her by name. A girl from her math class asked if she could join her table at lunch. The debate team captain approached about recruiting her. "You've rattled the system," Sammy said as they waited outside after school. "It's intriguing. People admire honesty," Yasmin added. "And courage." Amara shrugged modestly. "I just said what was true." That evening, while Amara worked on homework, her father knocked on her bedroom door. "The school called," he said as he entered. "Something about an impromptu poetry performance." Amara smiled slightly. "Wasn't he in the original plan?" James Marshall, a retired Marine with the presence to prove it, sat on the edge of her bed. "Those boys still giving you grief?" "Nothing I can't manage." "That wasn't my question, Amara." She sighed, setting her Braille book aside. "They're just insecure kids with privilege and no consequences. That doesn't give them the right to target you." His voice was quiet but firm, the controlled anger of a man trained to channel fire into discipline. "I could talk to the principal." "Please don't, Dad. That might just escalate things." She reached out and, unerringly, found his hand. "Trust me. I've got this." He squeezed her hand in return. "I always have." The next morning, a strange tension hovered in the halls as Amara arrived. Conversations fell quiet as she passed, only to reignite in hushed tones once she was gone. Yasmin found her before first period, eyes blazing. "Chase broke into the student database," she said angrily. "He's spreading your personal info, your address, your medical records. Everything." Amara didn't flinch, but her grip on the cane subtly tightened. "Is that supposed to scare me? He's trying to make people think you don't belong. That you're only here because of charity. And that would make me less deserving," Amara asked calmly. "Of course not," Yasmin said. "But you know how some of these legacy kids think. Amara gave a slow nod. This has crossed a new line. My father needs to know. That afternoon, James Marshall arrived at Grafton Academy in his Marine Corps cap and a crisply ironed shirt. He moved through the corridors with deliberate purpose, his presence impossible to ignore. He entered the principal's office. The meeting lasted 45 minutes. No one knew exactly what was said, but the secretary noted that Mr. Marshall never raised his voice. Somehow, that made it even more intimidating. When he came out, Amara was waiting nearby. "Everything okay, Dad?" she asked. "It will be," he said quietly. Then he added, "The truth will do its job. Just remember what Sensei Park taught you: let them misjudge you. That's their error." That night, as twilight settled over the neighborhood, Chase and Brent sat parked in Chase's high-end sports car just across from a modest two-story house. The modest home Amara shared with her father stood quietly on a tree-lined street, glowing gently beneath porch lights. Across the road, Brent shifted uncomfortably in the passenger seat of Chase's car. "This is dumb," he muttered. "Why are we even here?" "Surveillance," Chase said flatly, eyes locked on the house. "I want to know what her angle is. Nobody makes me look like a fool and walks away." "Your dad already said the school can't punish her for the data leak," Brent pointed out. "So can we just?" Chase raised a hand to cut him off. "Look." In the backyard, lit by motion sensor floodlights, Amara had just stepped outside in workout gear, no cane, no sunglasses. She moved across the grass with surprising ease, heading toward a large oak tree. Without hesitation, she began climbing, her hands and feet finding holds effortlessly despite the darkness. She scaled the tree like someone with perfect vision. "What the?" Brent whispered. Chase leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "I knew something didn't add up." "You're saying she's pretending to be blind?" Brent asked, incredulous. "Why not?" Chase replied. "You saw her dodge that ball in gym. She always knows when we're nearby. And look at that, she climbed that thing like she had a spotlight." Chase started the car. "Tomorrow, we get answers." Neither of them noticed Amara, now perched in the tree above, her head tilted slightly, listening intently as the sound of the car faded into the night. In the chemistry lab the next day, the atmosphere was lively with students working in pairs. Amara was partnered with Yasmin, her fingers gliding confidently over the tools. "Add 15 milliliters of the sodium hydroxide," Yasmin read aloud. Amara measured with precision, her movements steady. Across the room, Chase watched with hawk-like focus. "Today's the day we expose her," he whispered to Brent, who now looked uneasy with how far things had gone. "Are you sure, man? Maybe she's just really good at adapting." Chase snorted. "Come on. Blind people can't dodge projectiles or scale trees in pitch black. She's a fraud." Their murmuring was cut short by Mr. Parker's voice. "Less talking, more titrating, gentlemen." As the experiment progressed, Brent casually moved near the supply cabinet. When Mr. Parker stepped out to help a student, Brent nudged a shelf just enough to send a beaker tumbling toward Amara and Yasmin's station. The liquid arced through the air. Amara's head turned slightly. In a flash, she extended her cane, redirecting the chemical spill so it splashed harmlessly to the side. Mr. Parker rushed in. "What happened?" "Chemical spill," a student offered. But Amara stopped it with her cane. Mr. Parker looked astonished. "Excellent reflexes, Miss James. Very impressive." Yasmin grasped Amara's arm gratefully. "Thanks. That would be ruined my best sweater." Amara simply shrugged. "I heard it falling." Across the room, Chase and Brent exchanged a glance. "She heard it," Brent whispered. "Before it even hit." The latest incident only fueled the buzz circulating the school. By lunch, the story had morphed into a "She's got, like, super hearing," one student whispered. My cousin's blind too, another added, and he can tell which M&M you're holding by sound. Maybe she's got, like, a sixth sense, someone else suggested. Chase sat fuming as his reputation once ironclad was slowly being eroded by a girl who couldn't be broken. After the final bell, Principal Weston summoned Chase and Brent to his office. The air was heavy as they sat across from his imposing desk. "Gentlemen," he began, voice even. "Mr. Parker mentioned an incident in chemistry today." "Just an accident," Brent said quickly. "Uh-huh," Weston replied, his gaze flicking between them. "Like the assembly? The snake? The leaked records?" "I don't know what you're implying, sir," Chase said with practiced calm. "I'm not implying anything," Weston replied. "I'm stating facts. Ms. James has been here less than 2 weeks. In that time, she's experienced a number of accidents. Maybe she's just clumsy," Chase offered with a smirk. "Or maybe," Weston countered, leaning forward, "some students are struggling with someone who doesn't fit their expectations." Though he didn't say it, Chase's family influence was clear. His father was on the school board, his family name etched into the library. "Consider this your warning," Weston concluded. "The next incident has consequences." "Yes, sir," they replied in unison. Chase, however, didn't mean it. Outside, Brent exhaled. "That was close." "It was nothing," Chase dismissed. "Empty threats. My dad would have his job if he tried anything real." Brent hesitated. "Maybe we should cool off. This is getting out of control." Chase turned to him, cold. "Losing your nerve fine. Logan and I can handle it." As they rounded a corner, they nearly walked into Sammy, focused on a tablet in his hands. "Watch it, weirdo," Chase snapped. Sammy said nothing, walking past silently. Neither noticed the tiny recording device affixed to his tablet. Later, Yasmin had a surprise conversation with Mr. Bennett, the substitute PE teacher. "James," he said, checking his clipboard. "That's the blind student, right?" "Yes," Yasmin said cautiously. "I noticed her movements in class. Very measured. Very precise." Yasmin raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "I used to compete in martial arts," Bennett explained. "You recognize the stance, the control. She moves like someone trained." Yasmin didn't confirm or deny. But mentally, the pieces started falling into place. That evening, Chase, Brent, and Logan gathered in Chase's massive room, trophies and photos of political elites covering the walls. "We end this now," Chase declared. "She's pretending." "I'll prove it." "How?" Logan asked, lounging on the couch. "A test. Something that would terrify any blind person, but not someone who can see." Brent raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "A fake mugging," Chase said with a smirk. "We wear masks, confront her after she leaves the dojo. If she's blind, she panics. If not, we'll know." "This is crazy," Brent protested. "That's assault." "Not if we don't touch her," Chase argued. "Just scare her. Demand her stuff. See how she reacts." Logan grinned. "I'm in." Brent sighed, unsure. "Fine. But no contact. And we run if anything goes wrong." The next Tuesday, Amara finished her training late. The sky was dark as she walked toward the bus stop, her cane tapping gently on the sidewalk, more for rhythm than guidance. As she passed through a small park, she picked up on it the subtle rustling, the strained breathing. 3 masked figures. She kept walking, feigning ignorance. A voice called out, low and artificial. "Hey! Stop right there." She paused, head tilting slightly. 3 masked figures stepped out, surrounding her. Chase stood in front. Give us your wallet and phone, and no one gets hurt? Amara responded coolly. I don't carry a wallet. Just enough for the bus. Then give it here, Logan barked, stepping closer. I need to get home, Amara replied calmly. That's not our problem, Chase said, reaching for her. What happened next was too fast for them to register. Amara pivoted, grabbed Chase's wrist, and threw him over her hip. He landed with a thud, gasping for air. Logan rushed in, only to be struck hard in the stomach, doubling over. Brent backed away, hands raised. I don't want trouble. You found it anyway, Amara replied coldly. Logan helped Chase to his feet. This isn't over, Chase wheezed. Oh, but it is, Amara said. And Chase, your cologne gave you away. You might want to switch it up next time. The boys froze. She knew who they were. I know all three of you, she said, calm as ever. And now you know something about me. They turned and fled. Amara continued to the bus stop, her pace unbothered. Her phone rang. Hey, Yasmin, she answered. How was training? Came the cheerful voice. Eventful, Amara said. Then, after a pause, I think it's time I told you something. Can you come by before school tomorrow? Let me know when you're ready for the continuation. Thanks for your patience. Here's the rewritten version of your entire story section, revised for smoother flow, consistent tone, and emotional clarity without changing any events. This preserves the structure and meaning while upgrading the prose. Amara's house sat quietly in the late evening light, the porch lamp casting a soft glow over the lawn. Across the street, Brent sat in the passenger seat of Chase's car, arms crossed. This is stupid, Brent muttered. What are we even doing here? Reconnaissance, Chase replied, eyes fixed on the house. I want to know what her deal is. Nobody makes a fool of me and gets away with it. Your dad already said the school can't do anything about the records getting leaked. Brent sighed. Can we just? Chase raised a hand to silence him. Look. Under the glare of motion-triggered security lights, Amara emerged into the backyard. She wore workout clothes, no cane, no glasses. With surprising ease, she crossed the lawn and approached the massive oak tree at the edge of the yard. Without hesitation, she began to climb, hands and feet finding their grips with practiced grace. She scaled it like someone who could see every branch. What the hell? Brent whispered. Chase leaned forward, eyes narrowing. I knew something was off about her. You think she's faking it? Faking being blind? That's insane. Is it? Chase challenged. You saw how she dodged that ball in gym. How she always knows when we're around. How she just climbed that tree like she's done it 100 times. He started the engine. Tomorrow, we find out the truth. Neither of them noticed Amara perched in the tree, her head tilted ever so slightly in their direction, listening long after their car had disappeared into the night. The chemistry lab buzzed with chatter and clinking glassware as students paired off for the day's experiment. Amara stood beside Yasmin, identifying each piece of equipment by touch. Add 15 milliliters of the sodium hydroxide solution, Yasmin read. Amara measured carefully, her movements steady and confident. Across the room, Chase watched her like a hawk. Today's the day, he whispered to Brent. We prove she's faking. Brent's frown deepened. I don't know, man. What if she's just really good at, adapting? Nobody's that good, Chase scoffed. Blind people don't dodge balls or climb trees in the dark. Their whispering was cut short by Mr. Parker, the science teacher. Less talking, more titrating, gentlemen. As class progressed, Brent positioned himself near the supply shelves. When Mr. Parker stepped into the hall to assist another student, Brent nudged a beaker, tipping it toward Amara and Yasmin's workstation. The spill happened fast. Liquid sloshed toward them in a wide arc. Amara's head turned slightly. In one smooth motion, she extended her cane and redirected the spill away from herself and Yasmin. The liquid splashed harmlessly onto the floor. Mr. Parker returned at the sound. "What happened here?" "Chemical spill," a student said. "But Amara stopped it?" "With her cane." The teacher looked impressed. "Excellent reflexes, Miss James. Very quick thinking." Yasmin let out a breath. "That would be ruined my favorite sweater." "Thanks." Amara shrugged. "I heard it falling." Across the room, Chase and Brent stared at her. "She heard it," Brent murmured. "Before it even spilled." By lunch, the incident had made the rounds. The narrative had shifted from doubt to awe. "She's got super hearing," one student said. "My cousin's blind, and he can tell what color M&M you're holding just by the sound," added another. "Maybe she has, like, a sixth sense." Chase seethed. His dominance in the school's social order was crumbling under Amara's quiet, unshakable presence. After the final bell, Principal Weston summoned Chase and Brent to his office. The silence in the room felt heavier than the mahogany desk between them. "Gentlemen," the principal began, voice controlled. "There was a chemical incident in chemistry today." "Concerning?" "It was an accident," Brent said quickly. "Indeed," the principal replied. "Just like the assembly stunt, the rubber snake, the leaked records." Chase put on his best innocent face. "I don't understand what you're implying, sir." "I'm not implying anything, Mr. Williams," Weston said coolly. "I'm stating facts. Miss James has been at Grafton Academy less than 2 weeks and has already experienced multiple so-called accidents. Maybe she's just clumsy," Chase said with a smirk. "Or maybe," Weston said, leaning forward, "some students are struggling to accept someone who doesn't fit their mold." The message was clear even if unspoken. Chase's father was on the school board. His name was etched on the new library. But Weston wasn't afraid to push back. "Consider this your warning," Weston said. "The next incident will bring consequences." "Yes, sir," they both replied. But outside in the hallway, Chase's smirk returned. "That was nothing. My dad would get him fired if he actually tried anything." Brent rubbed the back of his neck. "Maybe we should back off. This is getting out of hand." Chase turned sharply. "Getting cold feet fine. Logan and I can take care of it." As they rounded a corner, they nearly collided with Sammy, who was staring into his tablet. "Watch it, freak," Chase snapped. Sammy didn't respond. He walked past them without flinching. Neither boy noticed the tiny recording device attached to the bottom of his tablet capturing everything. Later that day, Yasmin found herself speaking with Mr. Bennett, the substitute PE teacher. "James," he said, scanning his clipboard. "Amara James, she's the blind student, right?" "Yes," Yasmin answered cautiously. "I noticed her in class. Her movement is incredibly controlled. Very deliberate." He paused. "Does she have martial arts training?" Yasmin blinked. I'm not sure." "Why?" "Just curious," Bennett replied with a casual shrug. "I used to compete in martial arts tournaments. You learn to recognize certain things: posture, breathing, reflexes. She moves like someone trained." Yasmin didn't respond, but her mind raced, connecting the dots. That night, Chase, Logan, and Brent gathered in Chase's luxury bedroom, walls lined with trophies and smiling photos of Chase with senators and celebrities. "We're ending this," Chase said. "She's lying, and I'm going to prove it." "How?" Logan asked. "A test," Chase said coldly. "Something that would terrify a blind person but not someone who can see." "Like what?" Brent asked warily. "A mugging," Chase said. "Fake, of course." We wear masks. Corner her near the park after she leaves that strip mall she goes to every Tuesday. If she's blind, she panics. If not. This is insane, Brent cut in. That's assault. Only if we touch her, Chase argued. We just scare her. Demand money. That's it? Logan grinned. I'm in. Brent looked between them, then sighed. Fine. But no touching. And if it goes sideways, we run. The next Tuesday, Amara finished her training session at the dojo later than usual. The street lights were glowing as she made her way toward the bus stop, her cane tapping the sidewalk rhythmically. As she walked past the small park, she heard the not-so-quiet steps trying to sneak. The strained breathing of three people holding still. She recognized the patterns, even disguised. She kept walking, showing no sign she noticed. Hey! A voice called artificially deep. Stop right there. She paused, turning slightly. Three masked figures emerged, surrounding her. Chase stood in front. Give us your wallet and phone, he said in a low growl, and you won't get hurt. I don't carry a wallet. Just bus fare, Amara replied evenly. Then give us that, Logan demanded, stepping in. I need it to get home. Not our problem, Chase said, reaching for her. What happened next unfolded in a blur. Amara pivoted, captured Chase's wrist, and flipped him over her hip. He hit the ground hard. Logan lunged and caught a strike straight to the solar plexus, folding like paper. Brent backed off, hands raised. I don't want trouble. Then you shouldn't have followed me, Amara said, her voice ice. Logan pulled Chase to his feet. This isn't over, Chase croaked. Oh, it is, Amara said. And Chase, that cologne of yours is a dead giveaway. Maybe try something subtler next time. All three froze. She knew who they were. I know you. All of you. And now you know something about me, too. They turned and ran. Amara resumed walking to the bus stop, calm and collected. Her phone rang. Hey, Yasmin. How was training? Eventful, Amara said. Then, after a beat, can you come over before school tomorrow? There's something I need to tell you. Chase stationed himself near the cafeteria entrance, eyes locked on the flow of students. When Amara entered, her cane tapping ahead of her, he stepped forward deliberately. We need to talk, he said quietly. I don't think we have anything to discuss, Amara replied, continuing past him. Chase followed, lowering his voice. How did you do that last night? How did you know it was us? Amara paused, turning slightly toward him. You're asking the wrong questions, Chase. What's that supposed to mean? You're obsessed with how I defended myself. You should be asking why I needed to. Before Chase could respond, Sammy appeared beside them, his expression as unreadable as ever. Amara. I need to show you something, he said without greeting. Yasmin too. In an empty classroom, Sammy set his tablet on a desk and pressed play. The screen displayed audio waveforms. Voices Chase S., Logan S., Brent S. filled the room, unmistakable and damning. They spoke of their planned mugging, past pranks, and strategies to avoid getting caught. I've been recording them, Sammy explained. 27 incidents of targeted harassment. 14 explicit admissions of guilt. 8 counts of property destruction or tampering. Yasmin stared at him, stunned. How? Microtransmitters, Sammy replied. I placed them at key locations behind the gym, in Chase's locker, the library corner. He shrugged, as if it were perfectly ordinary. I calculated a 97.3% probability they de-escalate. Gathering evidence was the most logical response. Amara's features softened. Sammy, that's incredible. It's just pattern recognition, he said, though a hint of pride crept into his voice. They're predictable. What are you going to do with it? Yasmin asked, gesturing to the tablet. Amara considered. For now, nothing. They know I can defend myself physically. Let's see if that's enough to stop this. But it wasn't. As the day went on, it became clear Chase wasn't done. Humiliation had mutated into obsession. Between classes, Yasmin spotted him lurking, watching Amara with unsettling intensity. After school, Chase's silver Audi idled across the street from Park's dojo. He sat alone, watching as students in white GIs filed in. What are you doing here? Amara's voice came from his open window, making him jolt so hard he hit the horn. Jesus! Chase gasped, clutching his chest. How did you? Your engine has a distinctive sound, Amara said evenly. What do you want, Chase? His usual arrogance faltered. I was just spying, trying to figure out how the blind girl beat you. Chase's face flushed. You're not who you say you are. I've never claimed to be anything but what I am, Amara replied. You're the one making assumptions. She turned and walked toward the dojo. Chase watched, gripping the wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. Inside, Sensei Park waited, his stern features softening slightly when Amara entered. You're troubled, he said. The situation at school is evolving, Amara admitted. The boy in the car outside, one of your tormentors. Amara nodded. The ringleader. And now he knows I'm not weak. Then prepare yourself, Sensei warned. When the weak can't defeat you directly, they look for other ways. That evening, James Marshall sat in his home office, reviewing Sammy's recordings. This is more than enough for a harassment complaint, he told his daughter. Maybe even criminal charges. I don't want to escalate it publicly, Amara replied. Not yet. Her father studied her. You've shown remarkable restraint. I learned from the best, she said with a small smile. Her phone chimed. Text from Yasmin, the automated voice announced. Amara tapped the screen. Chase's lawyer dad just left principal's office. Look serious. Call me. The next morning, tension crackled through the air as Amara arrived at school. Students huddled in whispering groups. Conversations hushed as she passed. The usual hallway noise had dimmed, replaced with a strange, heavy silence. Yasmin intercepted her at the entrance, pulling her aside. It's bad, she whispered. Chase's father came in with a legal team. They're claiming harassment. Defamation. Against who? Amara asked, though she already knew. You. And Sammy. For the recordings. They're calling it illegal surveillance. Invasion of privacy. Principal Weston's caught in the middle. The Williams family basically owns half the board. Amara absorbed this calmly. Where's Sammy? Computer lab. He's been backing up his data to external servers since dawn. Yasmin hesitated. They're also saying you assaulted Chase and his friends. That you lured them to the park and attacked them. A faint smile touched Amara's lips. Of course they are. Throughout the morning, the pressure grew. In language arts, Miss Elridge kept stealing glances at Amara, as if expecting a flying sidekick mid-lecture. During break, a school security officer stood outside the science wing, openly tracking her movements. By lunch, Yasmin was nearly frantic. This is insane. How can they twist everything? Money, Amara said. Power. The usual. But we have the recordings. Which may be inadmissible if collected illegally, Amara reminded her. Chase's father knows exactly what he's doing. Their conversation was interrupted by Brandt, hovering awkwardly nearby. The cafeteria quieted as he approached. Can I talk to you? He asked Amara, voice low and hesitant. Of course. He slid into the seat across from them. This has gone way too far. I didn't sign up for legal teams and false accusations. Then why are you here? Yasmin asked, wary. Because I'm done being Chase's puppet. He ran a hand through his hair. They found weed in my locker yesterday. I've been suspended from the basketball team. And Logan, he failed a drug test. But he doesn't even do drugs. You think Chase planted it? Amara asked. I know he did. It's what he does. When people stop playing along, he scorches the earth. Brent leaned in. He's obsessed with you. And he doesn't care who else gets burned. After he left, Yasmin stared. Do you believe him? Yes, Amara said. Fear makes people honest. That afternoon, Amara was summoned to Principal Weston's office. As she navigated the hallway, she sensed someone following, not Chase, not Brent, but someone heavier. Security. The office smelled of coffee and tension. She sensed 3 people inside. Principal Weston, drumming his fingers. A woman with high-end perfume, sandalwood and money. And a man whose expensive cologne radiated confidence and power. Ms. James, Weston began, voice taut. This is Mr. Williams, Chase's father. And Ms. Harrington, the school board's legal counsel. A pleasure, Amara said flatly. Let's skip the pleasantries, Mr. Williams said, voice smooth and practiced. We're here about some troubling events. I'm listening. My son and his friends were assaulted near Oakwood Park on Tuesday evening. They identified you as their attacker. In addition, they've been recorded illegally by your friend Samuel Chen. These are serious allegations. Self-defense isn't assault, Amara said calmly. And I have no knowledge about the legality of Sammy's recordings. Mr. Williams gave a skeptical chuckle. A blind girl claiming self-defense against 3 athletic boys. That's a hard story to sell. Not when the blind girl has a black belt in karate, Amara replied. Silence. Even if that's true, Ms. Harrington said, it doesn't explain your presence at the scene. Or why you escalated to violence. I train at Park's dojo. Twice a week. The park is part of my route. And I responded appropriately to being surrounded by 3 masked men after dark. Principal Weston shifted uncomfortably. These are serious accusations. On both sides. Oh, we have evidence, Mr. Williams cut in. Security footage from a nearby business shows my son and his friends walking peacefully through the park when Ms. James approached them. Amara raised her brows. Do the tapes show them wearing ski masks or threatening me? The footage is inconclusive, Ms. Harrington admitted. How convenient, Amara murmured. The meeting ended with veiled threats, legal, institutional, reputational. As Amara stepped into the hallway, she heard Mr. Williams' parting words, this situation will be resolved. One way or another. Our family's support depends on it. Outside, Yasmin was waiting. What happened? Exactly what we expected. Intimidation. Selective truth. Legal muscle. What do we do? Before Amara could answer, her phone buzzed. The synthetic voice read, message from Sensei Park Dojo emergency. Come immediately. The scene at Park's dojo was a nightmare. Shattered windows. Equipment in pieces. Crude spray paint slurs covered the walls. The air reeked of paint and drywall. Amara stood frozen in the doorway, her hand gripping her cane. Sensei Park moved through the wreckage slowly, jaw tight with restrained fury. This happened during lunch. No witnesses. Amara reached out, running her fingers over the rough spray paint. What does it say? He hesitated. Nothing worth repeating. Tell me. Racial slurs. Blind fighters not welcome. Amara's jaw clenched. I'm sorry this happened to your dojo. A dojo is not bricks and mats, Sensei Park said softly. It's spirit, discipline, community. He placed a hand on her shoulder. Still, we must suspend classes. For insurance, repairs, investigations. It will take time. That night, once her father was asleep, Amara slipped out into the backyard. She removed her dark glasses and tied a blindfold over her eyes. A familiar ritual. In the center of the lawn, she began to move slowly at first. Her limbs flowed with practiced grace. She increased speed, adding complexity, her form a perfect blend of muscle memory and focused will. Each strike, each motion, declared the truth of her being, I am not diminished. The next morning, the school was buzzing again. Rumors spread like wildfire. Sammy had been caught hacking the school's internal systems early that morning. His laptop was confiscated. He'd been escorted off campus. They're suspending him, Yasmin told Amara between classes. Chase is removing anyone who stands with you. Amara's face hardened. This ends now. What are you going to do? Amara pulled out her phone. Something I should be done from the beginning. She dialed. Call Dad. That afternoon, James Marshall arrived at Grafton Academy again. But this time, he wasn't alone. At his side was a woman in a tailored navy suit, her natural curls pinned in a sleek updo. Who's that? Yasmin whispered from the library window. Sarah Jenkins, Amara replied. Civil rights attorney. Specializes in discrimination cases. And, my godmother. Principal Weston emerged from his office an hour later, ashen-faced. Behind him, James Marshall and attorney Jenkins followed, their expressions grim but satisfied. That evening, Amara sat quietly in her bedroom beside her father, the weight of the past few days hanging heavy between them. You could come to me sooner, he said softly. I wanted to handle it myself, Amara replied. James let out a long sigh. Some battles, sweetheart. You shouldn't have to fight alone. He paused. Then, gently but firmly, he added, when your mother died. Dad, don't. No. You need to hear this. His voice didn't waver this time. When your mother died protecting you during that robbery. I blamed myself. For not being there. For not stopping it. Amara's fingers tightened around her cane. I was the one who begged her to stop at that store, she whispered. If I hadn't. James reached over, taking her hand in his. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't mine either. It was the fault of the man who chose violence that day. Tears welled in Amara's sightless eyes. I couldn't see him coming, I couldn't warn her. You were 9 years old, her father said, his voice cracking. And even then, the police told me you tried to protect her. You moved toward the danger. Not away from it. A heavy silence settled over them as the memories washed through the room. That's why I enrolled you in Sensei Park's classes, he said finally. Not just so you could defend yourself, but because I saw something in you. A need to protect others. A sense of justice. The same quality your mother had. Amara wiped her eyes. I miss her. Every day, James replied. But she'd be so proud of the young woman you've become. He gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. Now, about this charity gala the school's hosting. I don't know if I should go, Amara said. After everything that's happened. Oh, I think you definitely should, her father said, resolve creeping into his voice. In fact, I have an idea about that. The next morning, an announcement appeared on the Grafton Academy digital bulletin board. The annual charity gala would go on as scheduled. This year's theme Seeing Beyond Limitations. In the cafeteria, Chase read the notice and smiled cold and calculating. Perfect, he murmured to Logan. It's all coming together. Logan groaned. What is? The final act, Chase replied. One public humiliation. To end them all. What he didn't see, what no one saw, was Amara entering the cafeteria behind him. She wasn't wearing her usual dark glasses. Beneath her open blazer, she wore a black GI. Her karate black belt was plainly visible to all. That evening, Grafton Academy's gymnasium was transformed into a glittering ballroom. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across the polished floor. A string quartet played softly from a corner stage, while waiters in white gloves passed hors d'oeuvres on silver trays. Amara stood at the entrance beside her father. She wore a navy blue dress, elegant, simple, with her hair swept into an intricate updo. Her white cane rested lightly in her hand. Her dark glasses returned for the occasion. Quite the production, James murmured. You sure about this? Completely, Amara replied. Yasmin and Sammy are already inside. And Chase, you're ready for whatever he's planned. A small smile tugged at her lips. More than he is. Principal Weston approached them with forced enthusiasm. Miss James. Mr. Marshall. So glad you could attend. We have a special table reserved near the stage. How thoughtful, Amara replied. As they made their way through the crowd, whispers followed them. Some students watched her with awe, others with skepticism. Amara had become a kind of legend, dividing opinions across campus. Yasmin met them at the table, leaning in close. Chase looks way too smug, she whispered. He's been hovering around the media setup all night. Any word from Sammy? Not yet. He said he needed to finish some tech stuff. Across the room, Chase stood beside his parents. His tuxedo was perfectly tailored, his hair meticulously styled. His father, Richard Williams, laughed effortlessly with board members. His mother, Elizabeth, was draped in diamonds, eyes scanning the room with cool detachment. She actually showed up, Chase muttered. Of course she did, Richard replied. We sent her a very specific invitation. Missing it would be looked guilty. Everything ready? Chase asked. Richard placed a hand on his son's shoulder. The slideshow is set for 8:30. Right before the donation announcements. It'll be enlightening. What neither of them noticed was the slim figure of Sammy, slipping in through a side door, tablet in hand. At exactly 8:30, Principal Weston took the stage, tapping the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, before we begin our donation segment, the Williams family has prepared a short presentation on the value of honesty and integrity in our academic community. The lights dimmed. Chase's smirk widened. But as the screen behind Weston flickered to life, the slideshow he had prepared didn't appear. Instead, the projector stuttered, glitched. Then stabilized. A grainy video filled the screen. It showed Chase, huddled with Logan and Brent near the lockers. The blind girl won't know what hit her, Chase's voice rang out. I've got the fake braille cards ready. She'll make a complete fool of herself. Gasps. The screen changed again, footage of Chase at a school terminal, accessing files. Her dad's a security guard, he laughed. They could barely afford the app fee. Let alone tuition. Whispers turned to murmurs. Elizabeth Williams gripped her husband's arm, whispering urgently. Richard's face drained of color. Clip after clip played, Chase placing thumbtacks on Amara's seat. Chase egging Logan on during gym class. Chase orchestrating the park ambush. Then the final video played. Chase's voice on a phone call, laughing cruelly. Yeah, we trashed the dojo. Left her a nice message, too. Let's see how the blind ninja handles that. The screen went dark. Silence. Then a chair scraped back. Chase jumped to his feet. That's fake. He yelled. It's all edited. Principal Weston stood frozen, Microphone clutched in a death grip. Parents stared, horrified. Board members exchanged looks of disbelief. Richard Williams recovered first. "This is outrageous," he barked. "A violation of privacy. Fabricated. I demand this be stopped immediately." But the room wasn't listening to him. Amara had risen from her seat. Her cane tapped steadily as she approached the stage. She reached the stairs, then paused. With deliberate grace, she removed her dark glasses. Gasps rippled across the room as she revealed her sightless eyes. Then she slipped off her blazer, revealing the black GI beneath her gown. "My name is Amara James," she said, voice clear and steady. "I lost my sight when I was 9. That same year, I began training in karate under Sensei Park." She folded her cane and tucked it into her belt. "You thought my blindness made me weak," she continued. "But it helped me see the truth." A hush fell over the gym. "I came to this school seeking opportunity. But I learned that money can buy immunity. That cruelty can be mistaken for leadership. That silence is easier than justice." She turned to face the audience. "But I also found friends brave enough to stand with me. I found strength in unexpected places. And I learned that sometimes the only way to change a broken system is to break it." A girl in the back began to cry. Others looked away, ashamed. "The videos you just saw are real," Amara declared. "Each clip authenticated. Time-stamped. Copies have been sent to the police, the school board, and several media outlets." Richard Williams lunged forward. "This is defamation. My lawyers will—" "Your lawyers will face obstruction charges if they proceed," said a cool, commanding voice. Sarah Jenkins had stepped onto the stage. "With added charges for witness tampering and property damage, Mr. Williams," she said crisply. "I suggest you choose your next words very carefully." Principal Weston finally found his voice. I think we should adjourn the gala," he stammered. "The board will convene immediately." As the room erupted into whispers, teachers huddled in corners. Parents approached Amara, some apologizing, others just stunned. Ms. Elridge slipped out a side door, her resignation already typed and waiting. Chase, Logan, and Brent had disappeared, but their parents remained, facing the fallout. Elizabeth turned to Richard. "Is it true?" she demanded. "Did you know about any of this?" His silence was all the answer she needed. In the parking lot, Chase kicked the tire of his car. "This isn't over," he seethed. "She wants war, she'll get it." Logan leaned against the car, defeated. "Dude, it's over. We're done." "We're done when I say we're done," Chase growled. "My dad will fix this. He always does." But as they drove away, Chase's phone lit up. Notifications flooded in. The videos were already going viral. By morning, their names would be trending for all the wrong reasons. That night, Amara returned home quietly. The emotional weight settled on her shoulders like a thick fog. Her father handed her a mug of hot chocolate, their old ritual. "You did well," he said. "It doesn't feel like a victory. The best ones rarely do." He squeezed her hand. "Get some rest. Tomorrow will bring new challenges." Amara changed into her pajamas and was just climbing into bed when her phone buzzed. "Breaking, vandalism and break-in at local residence." The address was her own. The house was wrecked. Furniture overturned. Training equipment slashed. Windows shattered. But the worst was the spray-painted message on the wall: "Stay blind, girl." And the sight of her father sitting in an ambulance, head bandaged. "Dad." Amara rushed to him, hands reaching instinctively. "I'm okay," he said gently. "Just a glancing blow. I surprised them." A police officer stood nearby, taking notes. "Mr. Marshall said there were 3 intruders. One struck him with a bat before fleeing. Did you see their faces? Amara asked. Masks, her father replied. But one of them was wearing a Grafton Academy letterman jacket. The officer nodded. The message is threatening. We're taking this seriously, Ms. James. They destroyed my GI, Amara said softly. They cut it to pieces. That night, Amara sat beside her father's hospital bed. The steady beeping of machines the only sound. He stirred. You should go home. Rest. I'm not leaving you. He reached for her hand. This pain, he whispered. Forge it into something they can't stop. The words stayed with her as she finally drifted into sleep. By morning, the news cycle was spinning. The charity gala. The break-in. Competing headlines. Some praised Amara's courage. Others questioned the fallout. And then, her phone buzzed again. It was Yasmin. Yasmin called that night with an update from school. They've scheduled an emergency disciplinary hearing for tomorrow, she reported, her voice tense. Chase's father hired some high-profile attorney from the city. They're trying to flip the whole thing, claiming you've been systematically targeting Chase and his friends. That you're militant and dangerous. Amara let out a slow breath, her voice steady but tired. Not surprising. There's more, Yasmin continued, reluctantly. My scholarship is under review. Someone accused me of helping Sammy hack the school's network. Amara's grip tightened around the phone. They can't do that. They can if they want to, Yasmin said, her voice catching. My visa is tied to that scholarship, Amara. If they revoke it? They're trying to isolate me, Amara realized aloud. Cut off my support system. After hanging up, she tried to reach Sammy, but there was no answer. Hours passed before she finally found him that evening sitting alone on a park bench near the school, hunched over, shoulders slumped, uncharacteristically still. Sammy, she called gently, approaching him. How do you find me? He asked, his voice flat. Process of elimination. You weren't at home, the library, or the computer lab. She sat beside him. There was a faint smell of smoke on his hoodie. What happened? They threatened my parents' restaurant, he said quietly. Anonymous calls about health violations, tax issues. Then someone broke into my locker. Smashed my backup drives. He held up a piece of melted plastic, what remained of one of his devices. They scared me, he admitted, his voice trembling. I didn't know what to do. Amara reached out, her hand resting on his shoulder. It's okay to be scared, Sammy. What matters is what you do next. I don't know what to do next, he confessed. I'm good with code, not this. The variables are too unpredictable. Then we figure it out together, she said firmly. The next morning, the disciplinary hearing convened in the school's conference room. Principal Weston sat at the head of the table, flanked by 3 board members. Chase sat beside his parents and their attorney, a sharp-featured man in a tailored suit, exuding smug confidence. Amara was accompanied by her father, still wearing a bandage from the break-in, and by Sarah Jenkins, whose quiet professionalism stood in stark contrast to the Williams family's aggressive posture. This hearing has been called to address the serious allegations raised during the charity gala, Principal Weston began, his voice tight. Both sides will have the opportunity to present their case. Chase's attorney rose first. My client has been the victim of a calculated campaign of harassment and defamation, he began. Miss James, despite her condition, has demonstrated aggressive, even militant behavior. This culminated in a physical assault on my client and his friends. He painted a narrative with surgical precision, Chase as the well-meaning student concerned about a troubled peer, Amara as the volatile outsider. He even presented doctored footage from near the park. Furthermore, the attorney continued, Ms. James enlisted other students in this vendetta. Samuel Chen conducted illegal surveillance. Yasmin Corey aided in the distribution of manipulated media designed to destroy my client's reputation. When it was Sarah Jenkins's turn, she addressed the panel with quiet authority. The narrative presented by the Williams family, she said, is a work of fiction. The facts, however, are not. She presented Sammy's unaltered recordings, student statements, and verified timestamps. Each piece undermined the Williams' defense. The most devastating blow came when Brant Cooper took the stand. Chase has been doing this for years, he said, eyes downcast. Not just to Amara, to anyone he thought was weak or different. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room. Midway through the hearing, a commotion interrupted the proceedings. The doors opened. A distinguished black woman entered, her presence commanding even before she spoke. Judge Harris, Principal Weston said, rising. This is unexpected. I'm not here in any official capacity, she replied, taking a seat near the back. I'm here as an alumna Grafton Academy class of '85 and as someone who experienced similar treatment during my time here. Her presence shifted the energy in the room. While I cannot interfere with these proceedings, she said, I can tell you that I've spoken with multiple former students who faced similar discrimination and bullying. We're prepared to speak publicly about the systemic failures that allowed this to continue. Richard Williams visibly paled. The board members exchanged troubled glances. The hearing continued for another hour. More testimony. More damning evidence. And by the end, even Richard's power couldn't stem the tide. We'll deliberate and render a decision by tomorrow morning, Principal Weston announced, his voice hoarse. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in the span of one morning. As they left the conference room, Amara was approached by a girl she didn't know, a sophomore, voice trembling. My sister went here 2 years ago, she whispered. Brent and his friends bullied her so bad. She tried to. She hurt herself. She paused. I just wanted to say thank you. There are a lot of people who are grateful for what you're doing. That evening, as word of the hearing spread through the school, Sammy made a discovery. Buried deep within the school's network, he found a private chat server. It's all here, he told Amara over the phone, his voice regaining its fire. Photos. Videos. Written logs. Years of pranks, abuse. Victims. Administrators who were told but did nothing. Send it all to Sarah, Amara instructed. And Judge Harris. The system had begun to collapse under the weight of its own secrets. By nightfall, the principal had been placed on administrative leave. Yasmin's scholarship was reinstated with an official apology. Sammy was cleared of all accusations. But Chase's vendetta wasn't over. The next morning, as Amara made her way to the gym for the mandatory school assembly, she sensed someone behind her. Footsteps. Confident. Entitled. Angry. We need to talk, Chase said, stepping in front of her. I don't think we have anything left to say, Amara replied calmly. You ruined everything, he hissed, his voice tight with fury. My dad's reputation. My college apps. You had no right. Your actions ruined those things, Amara said. All I did was show people the truth. He stepped closer, invading her space. You think you're special with your karate tricks, your blindness act, nobody makes a fool of me. Then his hand shot out, grabbing her arm. It was his final mistake at Grafton Academy. In one fluid motion, Amara twisted free, seized his wrist, and flipped him hard onto the hallway floor. Before he could recover, she had him pinned knee to chest, her voice low but firm. You're done, she whispered. It's over. And for the first time, staring up at the blind girl who had dismantled his world brick by brick, Chase Williams finally understood what real power looked like. The morning of the final school tribunal dawned bright and clear, in ironic contrast to the storm swirling around Grafton Academy. News vans lined the streets. Reporters stood ready, clutching microphones and steaming coffee. "We're live outside Grafton Academy," one reporter said to the camera, "where a final disciplinary tribunal will determine the fate of several students implicated in what some are calling a systemic bullying conspiracy." Inside, the auditorium had been rearranged into a formal hearing space. Rows of chairs faced a long table where interim principal Dr. Eleanor Wright sat, flanked by 4 board members and Judge Harris, who had been invited as an independent observer. Students filed in slowly. There was no usual teen chatter, just hushed conversations and serious expressions. The tone of the school had shifted. Cruelty no longer felt casual. Amara arrived with her father, Sarah Jenkins, Yasmin, and Sammy, a united front taking their place in the front row. Across the aisle sat Chase, his parents, and their attorney. His arrogance was dimmed, but not gone. Logan hunched beside him, silent. Brent sat away from them, beside his own parents. Dr. Wright began, her voice steady. "The purpose of today's tribunal is to determine the appropriate consequences for the incidents that have come to light, and to establish a path forward for our school. This is not a court of law, but we will observe formal procedure." The proceedings lasted 3 hours. Yasmin gave eloquent testimony, describing the daily indignities Amara had faced. Sammy presented his findings with clarity and order, laying out patterns of behavior no one could deny. When Amara took the stand, she walked without her cane. "Ms. James," Dr. Wright said, "please share your experience in your own words." Amara's voice was calm, composed. "I chose patience over confrontation," she said. "Not because I was afraid, but because my sensei taught me that true strength lies in restraint. I only defended myself when I was directly threatened." Chase's attorney pushed back, calling her intimidating, militant. "Is it intimidating to be prepared to defend yourself?" Amara replied. "Or is it more intimidating to gather a group of people to harass someone you see as vulnerable?" He had no answer. Then came the surprise testimony. Ms. Elridge returned to speak. "I failed," she admitted. "I witnessed the harassment. I said nothing. I feared the power some parents held. And because of that fear, I was complicit." Her words sent ripples through the room. Other teachers shifted uncomfortably. But it was the final speaker who stunned everyone. A janitor named Frank Barnes approached the mic. His hands were rough, his voice steady. "I've worked here for 22 years, he said. And I've kept records." He laid down a notebook. Dates. Names. Incidents. 15 years worth. And every time I was told to clean it up quietly. By early afternoon, the tribunal reached its decision. Dr. Wright stood. "After careful consideration of all testimony and evidence, this tribunal finds that Chase Williams, Logan Taylor, and, to a lesser extent, Brent Cooper, engaged in a persistent campaign of harassment targeting multiple students, most recently Amara James." She paused, eyes sweeping the room. "The consequences are as follows: Chase Williams and Logan Taylor are hereby expelled from Grafton Academy, effective immediately. Their academic transcripts will reflect this disciplinary action." Richard Williams jumped to his feet. "This is outrageous. You can't." "Mr. Williams," Dr. Wright interrupted, cool and firm, "your son's actions and your own interference are fully documented. You may challenge this decision through legal channels. But be advised, the evidence will become public record." He fell back into his seat, red-faced and fuming. "Brent Cooper," Dr. Wright continued, turning the page. "Brent Cooper's fate was next. In light of your cooperation and apparent remorse," Dr. Wright continued, "you are suspended for the remainder of the semester. Upon return, you will be required to complete community service hours and participate in our newly implemented anti-bullying initiatives." Then, turning to address the broader community impact, she added, "Principal Weston has submitted his resignation, which the board has accepted. Effective immediately, Grafton Academy's disciplinary policies will undergo a comprehensive review and revision. As the proceedings concluded, a sea of reporters waited outside, eager for comment. Richard Williams pushed through the throng with his wife and son in tow, ignoring questions as they made a beeline for their car. Amara, by contrast, paused to give a single interview granted to a quiet-voiced journalist from the local public radio station. "Do you consider yourself a hero?" the reporter asked. Amara shook her head slowly. "No," she said thoughtfully. "I'm not a hero. I just refuse to stay silent." "What would you say to students facing similar situations?" "That they're not alone, even if it feels like it. That their worth isn't defined by how others treat them. And that standing up doesn't always mean fighting back. Sometimes it just means standing firm." In the days that followed, the ripples of the tribunal spread through the wider community. Richard Williams stepped down from the school board amid whispers of looming criminal charges: obstruction of justice, witness tampering. Several families quietly withdrew their children from Grafton, unwilling to face the school's new culture of accountability. But change was not only about losses. Work soon began on rebuilding Sensei Park's dojo, funded by community donations and powered by volunteer labor. Students from Grafton arrived on weekends scrubbing graffiti, replacing windows, repairing training equipment. One sunny Saturday, as Amara helped reorganize gear in the dojo's main hall, Sensei Park approached. "When you're ready," he said gently, "there's a place here for you as an assistant instructor." Amara's eyes widened with surprise. "But I'm still a student." "The best teachers never stop being students," he replied with a soft smile. "You have something to share, Amara. Not just technique but perspective." The following Monday, Yasmin burst into the cafeteria, waving a large envelope and practically glowing. "I got it!" she exclaimed, sliding into the seat beside Amara. "Full scholarship. Medical prep program at Westlake Academy." "Yasmin, that's amazing." Amara pulled her into a hug. "You earned that." "Actually," Yasmin admitted, lowering her voice, "I didn't just earn it. Judge Harris made a few calls. She said it was an investment in the future." Amara smiled. "She's good at spotting potential." "She mentioned you, too," Yasmin added. "There's a scholarship committee meeting next week about extraordinary circumstances. I think something good might be coming your way." Later that day, Sammy found them in the library, his usually reserved demeanor softened by cautious excitement. "My audio mapping device, the one I made for you," he began, without preamble. "A nonprofit for blind veterans wants to develop it. They're offering me a grant. And mentorship." "Sammy, that's incredible," Amara beamed. "They said it could help people adjusting to vision loss," he continued, words tumbling out faster than usual. "I never thought about the wider applications, but it's gratifying." "You deserve this," Amara told him. "Your mind is a gift." As the semester wore on, the media frenzy gradually faded. New scandals stole the headlines, though occasional updates surfaced: legal action against the Williams family, policy changes at Grafton. One such update showed footage of Chase being escorted into a juvenile detention facility, his face stunned and pale, facing consequences for the first time. Watching the clip, Amara felt no satisfaction. Just a quiet hope that maybe he would learn something. That evening, Amara stood before her mirror, continuing a private ritual she'd kept since childhood. She removed her dark glasses and tied a black blindfold over her eyes, a symbolic return to the start of her training. "You don't need sight," she whispered to herself, "to see what matters." It was a mantra that had carried her through every storm. The next morning, a small package arrived at her door. No return address. No note. Inside was a single folded sheet of paper embossed in Braille. "There are more like them. Are you ready?" Spring arrived at Grafton Academy, bringing renewal. The past months had transformed the school in subtle, profound ways: new leadership, new policies, a growing sense of accountability. As graduation neared, Dr. Wright surprised Amara with an invitation. "We'd like you to speak at the ceremony," she said. Amara blinked. "But I'm not a senior." "Your story is now part of this school's history," Dr. Wright replied. "We'd be honored." Amara brought the idea to her father. "I don't know what I'd even say," she admitted. "The truth," he said simply. "It's always served you well." Graduation day arrived. The auditorium overflowed with families. Excitement buzzed as seniors prepared for their next chapters. When Dr. Wright introduced Amara, a hush fell across the room. She approached the podium unaided, having memorized the route. Her school uniform was neat, her black belt tied proudly at her waist. "When I lost my sight at 9 years old," she began, "people assumed my life would be limited, defined by what I couldn't do. What I couldn't see. They focused on what was lost, not on what remained, or what could be gained." She paused, letting the silence settle. "We all face darkness. Sometimes literal, like mine. Other times, it's harder to name. The question isn't if darkness comes, but what we choose to do when it does." Her voice grew stronger with each sentence. "Justice isn't always about winning. Sometimes it's about holding your ground when it would be easier to bend. About telling the truth when silence feels safer. And yes, sometimes it's about forgiveness. Not for the people who hurt us, but for ourselves. So we can be free." When she finished, the room held its breath for a beat, then erupted. Applause thundered. Students rose. Then parents. Then faculty. A standing ovation, not just for Amara's words, but for the journey everyone in that room had witnessed. In the months that followed, the impact reached beyond Grafton. A new program was launched, Sight Beyond Sight, an initiative dedicated to empowering students with disabilities through martial arts and mental resilience. With seed funding from Judge Harris and community partners, it launched at 3 local schools. Amara served as its first youth ambassador. She worked closely with Sensei Park, developing new techniques, mentoring younger students, redefining what strength looked like. One warm summer evening, Amara returned to the dojo for a special class. As students filed in, some familiar, some new, Sensei Park addressed the room. "Today," he announced, "we learn to see without our eyes." He handed out blindfolds. Suddenly, Amara's years of practice became the great equalizer. She moved among the students, correcting stances, offering quiet encouragement. "Use your ears," she told them. "Feel the air shift as someone moves near. Listen to their breathing. To their rhythm." From the sidelines, James Marshall watched with quiet pride. Beside him, Sarah Jenkins and Judge Harris spoke in low tones, discussing how to expand the program to more underserved communities. "Your daughter is remarkable," Judge Harris said. "She gets it from her mother," James replied softly. Later that week, Amara and her father made their annual visit to her mother's grave. The cemetery was quiet, oak trees casting dappled shadows on the lawn. Amara knelt at the headstone and gently traced the letters, "Michelle Marshall. Beloved wife and mother." She untied the black belt from her waist and laid it across the stone. "We did it, Mom," she whispered. "We turned something painful into something powerful." Her father placed a hand on her shoulder. His presence, as always, steady. "She'd be proud of you," he said. "Not just for what you've done, but for who you've become." They sat together in silence, the breeze carrying the scent of grass and wildflowers. After a while, Amara picked up her belt. They walked arm in arm back to the car. The next day brought a new challenge. Ridgemont High, a neighboring school grappling with its own bullying crisis, had invited Amara to speak. The principal had heard about Grafton's transformation. He hoped her story might spark change. As Amara packed her notes, she hesitated. Was she ready to relieve it all for strangers? Then she looked at the invitation again. She folded the letter and slipped it into her bag. "Time to go," she said quietly. That afternoon, in a crowded gymnasium, Amara stood before hundreds of Ridgemont students. At the back of the room, a small figure sat apart from the crowd. Emma Collins, a blind freshman, listened intently as Amara spoke about her journey. After the Q&A, students swarmed Amara. Emma waited. Then finally, as the room cleared, she approached Kane, tapping in front of her. "Excuse me," she said shyly. "My name's Emma. I'm blind too. And I've been having some problems here." Amara turned, voice warm. "Hi, Emma. Want to tell me about it?" As Emma shared her story, Amara recognized the signs: the isolation, the exclusion, the lowered expectations. But she also heard something familiar, that quiet resolve. "Ever thought about learning self-defense?" Amara asked. "I wouldn't even know where to start." Amara smiled. "That's exactly what I said. The first time my dad took me to the dojo." The next day, a new student stepped nervously onto the mat at Park's dojo. "Emma." Amara approached her, now in her role as assistant instructor. "Ready?" she asked. Emma nodded. "I'm scared I'll look stupid." "Everyone looks stupid at first," Amara assured her. "That's how you know you're learning." They began the first basic forms together. And as Amara guided her through the motions, she felt something settle inside her. A circle completing. She was passing it on. The skill. The confidence. The strength hidden inside perceived weakness. Weeks passed. A new school year began. Grafton Academy buzzed with familiar energy, but something had changed. An undercurrent of accountability. Awareness. Respect. On the first day, Amara entered through the main doors. Her cane tapped against the tile. Students greeted her by name. Not out of pity, but recognition. Beside her walked Emma, who had transferred to Grafton under a new scholarship established after last year's tribunal. "Nervous?" Amara asked. "Terrified," Emma admitted. "But ready." "That's all any of us can be," Amara said with a smile. They walked together, two blind girls, shoulders straight, canes tapping in perfect rhythm. Other students stepped aside, not with discomfort, but with earned respect. From her office window, Dr. Wright watched them pass. A small smile played on her lips. Change didn't come all at once. But it did come. One brave voice. One policy. One mind at a time. And as Amara moved into this new chapter, her inner voice echoed with certainty: "You don't need eyes to see injustice, you just need the courage to stand against it." And in that moment, walking beside a girl who might have been her just a year ago, Amara knew something with absolute clarity: courage, like knowledge, only becomes powerful when you share it. What would you fight for, if the world tried to make you invisible? If Amara's journey moved you, tap that like button and subscribe for more stories that challenge what we think we know.